John Daniel here from John's Wacky World. Today doing a history blog about the 1918 flu epidemic. In recent weeks and months, everyone's been talking about the swine flu strain, and that's all I've been hearing, and I get a little tired of it. They talk about the latest flu, but they don't know what happened in 1918. And I'd like to relay some information about the 1918 flu epidemic to you, and also something I wrote about here in Massena, how it affected Massena and how many were killed and so forth. The 1918 flu epidemic was commonly referred as the Spanish flu and was an influenza pandemic that spread nearly to every part of the world. The pandemic lasted from 1918 to June 1920, spreading even to the Arctic and remote Pacific islands. 50 to 100 million were killed worldwide, and an estimated 500 million people were infected from the flu. There were two waves of the flu. The first wave of sickness killed some of those who were sick and elderly, and the younger, healthier people survived. But then, in August 1918, a second deadly wave went through, killing younger people that were much healthier, and it mutated more. And it was so bad that businesses closed, no sporting events, everything was dead in cities and towns. People had to be buried in pits dug up by bulldozers in certain places. And the theory today, there's been several theories on how the 1918 flu epidemic occurred. They said it came directly from birds to humans. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? And also monkeys. Last year and the year before, scientists dug up some preserved remains, frozen, of some 1918 flu epidemic people, and also samples from World War I soldiers, and tested the strains to see what was in it. And it makes me wonder, if this happened last year and the year before where they dug up people that had died from it, did they release it again? Hopefully not. That's just a quick viewpoint. I'm rambling. So let me get to this quick history. The epidemic took the lives of about 75 Massena residents in 3 months. That's according to what I could tally up. 75 people died in 3 months in Massena alone from the flu epidemic. The November 11th, 1918 issue of the Massena Observer reported the epidemic, and here is some of the story. The quarantine was raised on all public places Wednesday, and physicians state that the epidemic of influenza is practically at the end. The Board of Health had a meeting last week and decided that it would be safe to open the schools on Monday, and this was done, but the restrictions still held in regard to churches, pool rooms, moving pictures, and other public places. I could go on about this. I'll go on here. At the Aluminum Company Emergency Hospital, there were about 10 patients, most of them recovering, and no new patients coming in. The toll has been heavy for this town and vicinity, the number of deaths reported in the jurisdiction of the local undertakers being about 75. Of these, a few have been in Louisville and Brazier, but for the most part they were from Massena. The doctors and trained nurses have done notable work in the fight with death, and what is true of them is equally true of the volunteer workers who gave their time to assist at hospitals and in the stricken homes. Many of the teachers in the local schools remained here and worked entirely in the hospitals, caring to the sick when they could have been in their homes. In the Sam and Jesse Hosmer Grant family, the Grantville Road, 3 sons, Roy, Floyd, Max, died within a period of 10 days. Floyd was stricken ill in Potsdam when reporting for military service. Only the father and youngest son were able to attend the funerals because the rest of the family was ill, and they are buried in the Ravenville Cemetery. One notable was Carolina Modiel of 102 Woodlawn Avenue, died at the Baptist Chapel Emergency Hospital, although every known means was used by doctors and nurses to save her life, but it was hopeless. Her husband was at the same time being cared for at the hospital, and he was making satisfactory recovery, so much that he begged to be allowed to go home. His doctors and nurses in charge refused to let him leave the hospital as they did not consider it safe. So, Friday night, he made a rope of his bed sheets and let himself down to the ground from his room, which was on the 3rd floor of the hospital, temporary hospital. He went to his home on Saturday night and had a relapse and died within a few hours. A double funeral was held Monday at the Church of the Sacred Heart. There are 3 young children left, the youngest being about 3 years and the youngest only a few weeks old. Hopefully I read that okay, fast enough that you hopefully understand. So, I'm not feeling too good right now. I've been fighting something, I've tried bronchitis, I know my symptoms, but you never know. What happened in 1918 could happen any day. It could happen soon. You never know. So, if you get ill, stay home.